Hello YouTubers, Joe Kersey here on Tuesday, December 13th on this snowy day at 16:30 in the afternoon Eastern Time. It started snowing here about 9:30, well actually a little between 9 and 9:30 this morning. It's one of these wet heavy snows. Now we got about 2.5 inches now. It's tapering off a bit, but it's still coming down. And if you look on the radar, there's still a fair amount of it to the west of us, so it'll keep going for a while. You might notice that I've got my wrist taped. I may have mentioned sometime here that I banged my wrist on the screen door. I mean, the screen door swung shut on my wrist right here, and I had a fairly considerable bruise and a big knot, which I still have a bit of a knot, but it had pretty much stopped hurting for the most part. But you could still, if you did certain maneuvers with your arm, you noticed it. And today though, you can feel the thing, you can feel the hand subluxing on the joint slightly. You could certainly feel things moving around, I think I've cracked the radial styloid, the radial styloid process. Typically they call that a Colles fracture, and typically that's a hyperextension injury where you fall on your wrist like this, but I didn't fall. This was just direct trauma. Yeah. I'll go down to Walmart tomorrow and get one of these little bracy, wrappy things and some ace wrap, and that's just going to bug me till middle of March, so be it. I've been taking aspirin like mad, and well, aspirin like mad today, and I'm going to have to learn to wipe my ass in the manner of the Arab with my left hand, because this is can't do an effective job with this. It just takes the top of my head off. So, not to whine, but that's just the way it is. I have a fairly high pain tolerance, but there are certain things that just sort of, you get that really bright, gonna get you. All right, enough of that. This helps a lot. Now today, I've been watching the U.S. version of Queer as Folk, Season 1. Tony Pincham, my friend in England, sent me Seasons 1 and 2 for Christmas, and God bless you, Tony. That's I had the UK series, the 2 UK series, the 2 years of the UK series, and of course when this was on originally in around 2000, 2001, I didn't have any access to it on cable or anything like that, so I've really been enjoying this, and of course seeing, you always inevitably compare how they characterize certain characters in the American series versus the U.S. series. Although I guess they filmed this in Toronto, although it's meant to be set in Pittsburgh. Actually, I've never been over to Pittsburgh. We had a friend of ours who was into kind of like the leather stuff that went over to Pittsburgh, and we haven't heard from him since, but I hope he's okay. Well, we did hear from him about 3 years later, and he said he had found a sugar daddy to fix his teeth, and by golly, he needed his teeth fixed. They were pretty horrible. I mean, they were rotten. But hope he's okay. Okay. I want to tell you a story, since I like to tell stories here on the Joe Kersey channel. I think the easiest one to tell today, given all the prologemia, in the theological books they call it prologomenia I've gone through. Let's call this transected iliac arteries, or at least a transected iliac artery. We had a urologist at Ohio State when I was at Ohio State, and as a surgical resident and an anesthesia resident, and then briefly when I was there for 4 months as an assistant professor. And what he would do is, he would wait until the end of the day, and then he'd come on he'd just put on add-on cases, some of which were emergent, some of which were not. And since he was, he wasn't chairman of the division at that point. Well, it doesn't matter. He'd come down, and so we started calling him, let's just call him Bob. Bob add-on Dumb. So his name was, let's say his name was Bob Dumb, so we called him Bob add-on Dumb. And, add-on for short. So, add-ons come down to stick on a case. Add-on wants to do a case. Add-on, that's the way we referred to him. And he was notorious for losing large amounts of blood on even the simplest procedures. I once had to transfuse him doing just a basic cystoscopy. He lost over 1,000 cc's of blood doing a cystoscopy, basically just looking up some guy's dick into his bladder. This is not normally a bloody procedure. And as far as I recall, there were no complicating factors other than the fact that he lost over 1,000 cc's of blood on this case. So when he did a TUR, transurethral resection of the prostate, that's sort of a bloody one anyway, just in general. You're always going to lose about 300 to 500 cc's of blood on that kind of a case. He'd lose shit. I saw him lose over 2,000 units of blood, or 2,000 cc's of blood on one of those. So I'd start 2 14 gauge lines, Because to me, I just assume that that's how much blood you lost during one of these cases, because that's the only really experience I had with seeing somebody do these cases, the transjudicial resection of the prostate. So when I went over to Indiana to do commercial anesthesia for a year and 3 months, and then when I came back to Grand Hospital in Columbus to do commercial anesthesia for another 11 years, I soon disabused myself of that habit when I got to Grant, when I got around decent surgeons. And frankly, I disabused myself of that soon up in Fort Wayne. But when I was assigned to do a urology case with, a guy to do a TUR of the prostate, people were saying, why are you starting these big lines? Well, I don't mind starting a big line. That's neither here. But I was starting 2, see, because I thought I'd need them, I thought that was just the standard blood loss on all these cases. And no. My best memory of this man is this was during the time I was an assistant professor for 4 months, and I was supervising nurses. And one of the nurses, said, Dr. Kersey, can you come in here and just, look and see what's going on and see how you want to handle this, or you want me to handle this? And I said, fine, of course. So I remember I stood briefly outside, because you always want to sort of look through the window a bit before you walk in to get some sense of what you're walking into. And and so I opened the door and stepped into the room, and as I walked through the door, I remember seeing this finger thick column of blood going out of the man's groin area, arcing over everybody's head and splashing against the wall. I mean, you know, we're talking about a column, and then whoosh, 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 whoosh. Well, what had happened is this guy, you know, add-on had cut, not just nicked, cut, transected the left iliac artery on this man while he was doing an open prostatectomy, which is bloody to start with. But whoosh, 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 whoosh. Well, so I mean, we got another couple lines in. I think I may have thrown in 2 internal jugs, and you know, we got blood, and the resident had enough sense to just pinch the artery off in his fingers. But see, he only got one in because when you cut a major artery like that, the ends retract. Well, he got the proximal end, but the distal end went almost down retracted almost down under the inguinal ligament. Meanwhile, the wound's just filling up. This guy's kind of, what do we do? So once we got, of course we were giving fluid like mad, and I said, let me go out, and I went down to the lounge, and I got one of the vascular guys to come in, and it's like, yeah, this guy was, let's just say I wouldn't have let him work on me. Meanwhile, I've got a couple other stories to tell, but I'm going to save those for another day. And so I'm going to say bye-bye, YouTubers.